So the church is greedy. Defend that.
Okay. So every church is greedy?
Mm-hmm.
Or just in general they're greedy? What are we going for here?
Well, they always want money.
Okay.
We've talked about this before,
right.
but not in this context. So
right.
What's up?
Okay. So you're right. The fact that money is talked about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no way around it.
Mm-hmm.
It's talked about a lot. In some churches it's talked about every single week. Because
the whole time.
Well, hopefully not the whole time every single week. I mean, I know some churches they pass the offering plates, and that's about the extent of it. I know other churches they do a message. They do like a sermonette, like they do like a message before the offering. And
one church I went to passed around storage tubs as if they were trying to tell us something.
I mean, that's one way of doing it. So that's kind of crazy. All right.
It's not, didn't really happen.
Well, that's good. Because I've been in places.
They were really big, though. We had to
Well, I've been in places where they've done like 3 offerings.
Really?
Because the first 2 offerings weren't sufficient enough.
Oh.
Yeah, that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways.
I've seen 2 before.
Yeah, the 2 offering?
Yeah. But I think one of them was for something different.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see the 2 offering when it's like, all right, here's our regular giving for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's like a special offering we're taking for a missionary or special need or whatever.
And also here's the regular one again.
Sneak that in there one more time. So, but I mean, absolutely, there are churches that talk about it a lot. And I believe, churches, there are churches that are greedy. And especially in the prosperity gospel world, where where your faith, your spirituality is coincides with how much money you have, coincides with quote unquote being blessed through financial means. People will refer to the prosperity gospel as like the health and wealth gospel, and it's that idea of God wants you wealthy, right? And so if that's the premise from which you're working from, then if God wants you healthy or wealthy, well, healthy and wealthy, then obviously he wants the church to be wealthy.
And healthy.
Yeah. And he wants the pastor to be really wealthy. And you see this over and over again in these prosperity gospel churches. And I mean, I won't go on any rants. You know how much I hate them. So I cannot stand it. But I also think it's true. I think greed is true and found in non-prosperity gospel churches as well. Because I think there's a greed, especially since the whole seeker-sensitive church movement started, where when the movement started in like the 80s with and into the 90s. The seeker-sensitive church with the CEO type business model, and church began to be run like a business, and so we kind of went away from what had been value. We went away from what had been of value to the church, so it wasn't any more spiritual growth. How many people coming to know Jesus? How many baptisms? Where that used to be kind of the metric, if you were, of how things were measured, and in churches, and now, and it continues to this day, you have this idea of how big are our buildings, how much money do we have in the account, how many people are in our seats, right? And so
on your website, do you have like a ticker for baptisms since opening, and souls saved since opening?
No, that's interesting. Hey, church I'm at is 195 years old.
Yeah,
those numbers would be huge, probably.
Yeah, you should put them up there.
I need to look into that. It's a good idea. All right, so, but I think that this idea of greed, though, I'm accumulating money. We're building bigger buildings, like kind of the idea of like, look at us, right? The greed for the newer, the greed for the bigger, and like, let's see how big we can get our bank account and all that kind of stuff. And that's I think that's coming to churches because of the whole business model mindset behind churches.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think there can be greed, again, not just in the prosperity gospel churches, but just in your normal, just quote unquote average church. And I don't think, again, I think there's the bigger and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think it's necessarily relegated to just the mega churches.
Okay.
Because I think other churches can kind of get into the mindset of the same thing. They're smaller, but they're like, but we want to be like those churches. So there's a sense of we need this. We have this desire to accumulate funds so that we can do things to start looking like the mega churches, and that's there as well, unfortunately.